Hello everyone and welcome to a brand new episode of the Sports Insight with your host Alamdar Khan. And yes, as you know, we give you sports information from all across the globe. You guys can surely reach out to us on our social media handle, which is @Indus News Sports. That works both for Twitter and for Instagram. But anyways, we'll go to the headlines first. And yes, from the world of cricket, Pakistan versus England, the third ODI is underway at Edgbaston Stadium in Birmingham. And talking about the NBA third game, yes, Milwaukee Bucks managed to win against Phoenix Suns, and the score was 120-100 in Game 3 NBA Finals. And yes, talking about the US Open, golf, yes, Master champion Hideki Matsuyama and Bubba Watson withdrew because of COVID-19. And yes, from the world of athletics, Sha'Carri Richardson to return back to Diamond League Prefonte Classics after completing a 1-month ban. And yes, those were the headlines in talking about Pakistan versus England, the third ODI underway. The question is, we lost two of them before, but to discuss the in-depth analysis of how things may shape up for us, where did we go wrong, we have with us a former cricketer, Yasir Hamid. Yasir, thank you and welcome to the show.
You're welcome.
So Yasir, I would want to talk about seeing how Pakistan cricket team is performing. We as a team performed super amazing back in PSL. All the teams, everybody was gelled in. That's probably one of the biggest things to practice about. But the point is, after coming to England and playing against their 6 uncapped player, and they literally changed their entire team, and we still managed to not be as strong as we were supposed to. So where do you think we go wrong?
Actually, there are two things. One technically I will talk, and one tactically.
Sure.
Technically, if you speak, honestly, the guys did not practice outside.
Right.
They have practiced indoor, and the temperature inside is man-made.
Controlled.
It's controlled.
Right.
And when you practice outside, you see the condition, situation you play. In England, this is specifically when there is sun.
Right.
The conditions become batting.
Right.
And when the sun goes,
right,
the ball is starting, wobbling.
Right.
So I'm not defending the batsmen here.
Right.
Obviously, they have done not a good job.
Right.
If you see, the guy was new.
Right.
Saud Shakil I'm talking about.
Right.
He was just playing his second game.
Right.
But what he did, he was playing according to the situation, close to body, under his eyes, his head was straight.
Right.
He was technically sound, he was taking his time, right?
Right.
He was going deep. So, see, you see amount of talent in our team.
Right.
If you start from the top, Babar Azam, Fakhar Zaman,
Right.
Rizwan,
Right.
they're top players, right? At number 4, we have Shoaib Maqsood,
Right.
again a prolific player.
Right.
But one thing I don't understand, why they are not coming out of this impact.
It seems more like a fear. It seems like something is stopping them because, for instance, if we talk about being in isolation, not practicing, as you said, the point is, the first game we understand, fine, they were in the practice, they could not practice enough on the ground, but when they came out to the ground in the second game, they could have performed even more further. So I think having world-class players, if we talk about, obviously, you just spoke about Babar Azam or Fakhar Zaman, I mean, like they're big names. Having big names on your team and then facing, I understand that, it's one of the areas or one of the pitches and one of the situations where Pakistan or any South Asian team that would travel there would not perform as per, because we have been practicing most in Pakistan or, we know these areas.
And also we have played about 1.5 months in UAE.
Right.
It's altogether different. It's like steam.
True, absolutely.
Right?
It's
and
absolutely different.
You go to a cold weather.
Right.
And tactically I'm talking always, all the time, whenever we played in England,
right,
they put us in difficult situation. Right? If we play a test match, we go to Headingley. If we play one day, we go to Cardiff for Rose Bowl.
Right.
So these are not easy conditions to bat on because the ball swings there. And it's altogether a very, very new and different situation for us. For that, we need time to adjust. But as a professional, as a batsman, I'm also I've played everywhere in
right.
England, in South Africa, in New Zealand, wherever I've toured outside the Asia.
Right.
You go, you find a different bounce. You find different length, the same length which comes here. In England, it come here. Right. And also the line.
But so, talking about short ball delivery, of course, when you talk about ball getting up, the point is, I still think, because we should learn from the mistakes that we do. I think that's one of the most prime things.
That's the most important thing.
So how do you see, because they haven't really changed the squad as announced. So the point is, how do you see them evolving this time? Because this is going to be the third game, right? And if in this third game we manage to be or perform the way we did, I'm sure a lot of hearts are going to break, like someone like me or all the fans out there. So how do you see that not happening today and them performing better?
See, now World Cup T20 is coming, right? And England and India are the top sides of the world. Right. And before that World Cup, they are playing 5 test series. Right. So what does it mean?
They're mastering.
It means you have, you need to breathe.
Right.
You have to be long horse. You have to be a long race horse. Right. So if we prepare our players like this, forget about T20. T20 is just a fun. Even I've done 100. I've got 100 in T20. Right. I was never a fan, and I was never fond of T20 cricket ever. It's just fun. The real cricket is Test cricket, ODI cricket. For that, we need basic players, technical players who are strong on their basics. We should promote them. We should. Now you say Pakistan is going with the same side. We don't have option in the back. Who you will play and who will you replace with him?
True that. True. But even then, if we all know the options, right? But the point is, I think it's about time that we stay consistent with the team, right? And if we stay consistent with the team, for instance, I understand that, besides playing in a hot weather, going there, now playing ODI, I still think maybe we may have a chance. It's the same team who actually scored 200 plus runs, right? And now it's the same players who could not even score like 150 plus. So it is very alarming for the team and the management and the selectors. I think it's very alarming.
See, if you review the two matches, right? In Pakistan, first game we have scored like 141. Right. That pitch was of 280 to 300 at least. What we did wrong? We did not apply ourselves. Now Shoaib Maksud is in a top form. I think his form of his life. He's in form of his life, right? And every now and then he go for 6 and he hit it. Right. And it means that this is his main best shot, and he's getting it, right? What he need to do is spend at least 20 to 30 hours. Give yourself time, man. This is the point. We have to understand. We have to go on whiteboard again. We have to tell our players. See, this bowler, what's his name? Saqib Mahmood. Right. See off his first spell. If you have noticed, in last game, Saud Shakil see off his first spell, right? Right. In second spell, he came and he was everywhere, Saqib Mahmood. Right. But thanks to other end that we have given a wicket again. And so from there, we could have won that match. Right. Yeah, we just have to apply ourselves. That's, I think...
One important question, Yasser. I want to also ask the first game if we talk about. Everybody was like, it's a bowling pitch, right? So if it's a bowling pitch, Pakistan's biggest asset in terms of the team is bowling. And we managed to take only 1 wicket. Yeah. How did we go wrong even then?
I think bowlers are trying to do a lot. You know, in English condition, you have to come and bowl. That's it. Right. The pitch will and condition will do itself. Automatically. But for that, you need temperament. Right. You need belief. But we go for pace all the time. But pace is very easy to manage on highest level because you just come in line and just time it. Right. And good players do not,
put a lot of strength. They just
they just go and they have release shots. English players especially, they are very in release shots. Right. If we see our players, in our players, only Babar have relief shots. Right.
And when you made your century, so what did you focus on?
I just batted. That's it. Right. I never thought that I will run this and that. I just enjoyed my batting. Right. Enjoyed my batting.
But you played more on the timing side, right?
I tell you one thing, honestly, in international level, if you just stay on the pitch and you have talent, you will improve yourself. Eventually, you have seen Saud Shakil in last game. He was not crossing the circle 30. Right. You will see in 4 or 5 games, he will go flat beyond. 6.
Well,
because the talent is there, only have to apply. For application, you need to be there.
Well, Yasser, thank you so much for sharing the in-depth analysis from the world of cricket and obviously your wisdom. So thank you once again for being a part of the show. Well, that was Yasser, and yes, he did talk about how things can evolve for any team, specifically in terms of condition. But anyways, we'll take a quick break. Once we get back from the break, there is more from the world of sports. See you guys after the break. And yes, welcome back from the break. And yes, before the break, we were discussing the world of cricket, but not to forget that whenever we talk about sports. So yes, I'm going to talk about the NBA. Talking about the NBA, obviously, 3 games have been out right now. We've seen Milwaukee Bucks making sure that they struggled to win the last game against Phoenix Suns, 120-100. But not to forget that the initial 2 games for the NBA Finals were actually won by Phoenix Suns. But anyways, to discuss the in-depth analysis, we have with us Eric Rosales. Eric, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Great. So, Eric, it's been a tough journey for the Bucks to begin with, but they managed to win the last game, and obviously it was in their hometown. So, how do you see this developing further? Because from what I see right now, the trajectory, as I discussed, is going to be very, very different. But Milwaukee Bucks are trying their level best to ensure that, they manage to continue winning. Because if they don't win the next game, they will have a lot of pressure in terms of the NBA Finals. So, what's your take on their last victory to begin with?
Well, I mean, it was a must-win. We all know nobody comes back from 3-0 down in the NBA. So it was imperative that they got that win. And I think it was more important that they sort of kind of got comfortable in the NBA Finals. I think that they were a little overwhelmed, and I think they made a lot of mistakes in the first 2 games when they lost. But in Game 3, I think they kind of took something from the end of from the second half of Game 2, and that was using Giannis Antetokounmpo more as a Shaquille O'Neal 2.0 versus a LeBron James or Kevin Durant 2.0. They put him a lot of actions in off the pick and roll, and they let him work in the post a little bit more as opposed to trying to go one-on-one off the top and try to create something. And I think you've seen the effects. It's pretty devastating. I mean, he put up 41 points and 13 rebounds, which is a back-to-back 40 and 10 game, which only Shaq and LeBron have done in the NBA Finals. So big win for them, and it was huge, and it was necessary for them to get back into the series.
Right, and talking about the big win, the only difference that I see, and I'm sure all our viewers would be seeing, and I'm sure you saw it too, Milwaukee Bucks managed to win from 20 points in their last game, which is substantially a bigger lead in terms of the victory that the Suns had. Because if you look back into Game 2 and Game 1, in the Game 1, Suns were 118 and Bucks were 105. In the second, the Suns were again 118 and the Bucks were 108. In terms of the gelling in, I still think in the first 2 games, we had seen videos, we have seen things in which obviously Giannis is trying his level best. He's angry, he's upset, he's trying to put his team together. But there's a very in terms of momentum for the team, you don't really see that momentum of the Bucks that we've seen in the play-ins.
No, you're right, and I think that's why it was really important to get this win for them. One of the things that really stood out in this performance is obviously Giannis was the star, but his co-stars finally got into the series too, which everybody was waiting for. So seeing Drew Holiday play really well, he scored 21 points, and he shot it really well too. He was 8 for 14 and also hit 5 3-pointers. That was a big help. And then Chris Middleton, who really struggled in Phoenix, he finally, I mean, it wasn't a big stat line for him. He only went for 18 points on 6 of 14, but a little wrinkle, which is something Milwaukee didn't do too often, is they started getting him the ball and letting him control the offense at the top of the key. And he was a little bit more involved that way and wasn't so much forced to go one-on-one trying to create buckets. And I think those 2 guys, their performance really helped kind of drown out the Suns in this one as well.
Right, and I think it's eventually definitely has to come up to a team effort. If we discuss the Game 2, in Game 2, Giannis actually managed to score 42 points, and the rest of the team, even Drew Holiday or Chris Middleton, even if we talk about Chris Middleton or Drew Holiday, they scored 11 and 17 points respectively. But I think at the end of it all, it needs to come up to a conclusive side that, it's a team effort. Because I think if you put a lot of pressure, or if they put a lot of pressure on Giannis himself, there's so much more that he can do, but then he has his own limitations.
Oh, 100%. And I think that one thing that we forget is that we've seen the NBA Finals that we've sort of been spoiled by great play over the last decade. We've seen, LeBron James in the finals so many years. We've seen Steph Curry in the finals so many years. So many of the regular franchises. So when you see Milwaukee and Phoenix, it's hard to forget, hard to forget sometimes that these guys haven't been in these stages before. So you are going to see things that maybe you aren't accustomed to, and that is unraveling play and people getting jitters, and these guys haven't been here before, and Phoenix actually looked really strong in the first two games, and I think it was the first time we saw them get hit and unravel a little bit, and it was really one of the poorest performances we've seen from them in the playoffs this year.
Right, and talking about obviously the Phoenix Suns, I think they are right now, in terms of their performance, their body language, their teamwork, their team effort, I still think they are probably on a more positive side in terms of their performance and performance as a team. I would not focus on one individual, but I would rather focus on, because at the end of it all, like you said, both these teams have not been into the finals, and it's a very tricky thing for them to understand the dynamics of it, because if they manage to do so, because initially how things were flowing from Milwaukee Bucks in the first two games, I probably thought that the next two games, zoop, the end. I probably, it would have been a surprise, and everybody was surprised to see why Milwaukee Bucks are not up to their perfect form. So I think maybe they're trying to gain momentum, but what do you think about the next game that's coming up? Do you think they'll continue this momentum or not?
Well, I mean, there's no bigger game than Game 4 coming up.
Right.
If Milwaukee can win, I mean, we're even. If Phoenix goes up 3-1, they have 3 chances to close it out. I think the one thing that we need to see is that how Phoenix responds to this. I think that if you want to compare coaches, I think Monty Williams, in terms of preparation and in scheme, is a little bit, in my opinion, a little bit stronger than what Mike Budenholzer's been doing.
Right.
So I expect Phoenix to come out and be a little bit kind of handle what sort of the inefficiencies they had in the previous game. There were a lot too. So it wasn't just losing 120-100. It was a lot of the different things that they struggled with. In Game 2, they hit 23 pointers. In this one, they only hit 9,
right.
9 for 31. They were also outscored in the paint, 54-40. They were also outchanced for second chance points, 20-2, and in fast break points, 16-2. So
Right.
all those categories they got dominated in. I just think they're going to have a way stronger performance, and we're going to see how Milwaukee kind of builds on this momentum. I think it's going to be a crucial game, obviously, and we'll see how it goes.
Right, the momentum needs to be there. But if I look back, and we all look back, not to forget how Giannis had that injury in terms of his knee, and I think it was one of the most devastating scenes to see. But he made his comeback. But if you remember, in the Game 1, even though he was putting his best, in the Game 2, he was putting his best, and he did his best. But we saw him limping at some instances. But I think in the third game, we saw him totally in control of the injury, because right now he knows, and the entire team knows, and I think all those in the final know that it's no time for injury to take over.
Yeah, totally. And it's funny. I feel like every game I watch Giannis, and during a stoppage in play, I kind of think to myself, how is this guy still playing after watching that injury that he suffered? It was brutal, and it's a medical marvel to me to see him come back and still be playing. So I think that, yeah, you're right. There is no time for injury, and hopefully he stays healthy. I think that one thing that to still note is that as well as Giannis is playing, and I think he's the most dominant athlete.
Right.
I still think the best in terms of skill closing is Chris Paul and Devin Booker. And we haven't talked about injuries with Devin Booker, but he sat almost all of the fourth quarter in Game 3, and he also sat out the end of crunch time in a relatively close game in Game 2. And they're saying it's fatigue, but he could also be injured as well. So look for that. He didn't play well at all. He shot 3 for 14, only had 10 points. Right. He was a non-factor, and he needs to kind of be the guy to ride shotgun with Chris Paul. And those two, when they are going, that is really a devastating duo and really hard to stop. And so that's what I'm looking for in Game 4 as well, to see how Phoenix responds to that. Because Giannis, I think there's no answer for him right now. Like, he's just too physically imposing. So we'll see how those two respond to what Giannis puts forward in Game 4.
Right. If we see, obviously, the gelling, the teamwork in terms of Suns, obviously, Devin Booker, Chris Paul, they all are gelled in so positively, and they know where to stand, how to stand, and how to make the move. But right now, the momentum is there. And as you said that, in terms of the injury, I personally think, even looking at that injury, seems like I won't be able to walk for a day because it was so devastating to see the injury coming to Giannis. But yet again, I think the momentum has slowly and gradually started to pace up. So if it paces up even further, because the next match is surely going to be a game changer, not only for Milwaukee Bucks, but also for Phoenix Suns, because if Phoenix Suns manage to win that and Milwaukee Bucks loses it, it's definitely going to be a heavier side for the Suns. But on the contrary, if Milwaukee Bucks manage to win that, I think it is definitely going to be a game changer, not only for Milwaukee Bucks itself, but for the NBA Finals itself.
I think you're totally right. And the good thing is, in between these games, when they went back to Milwaukee, there's been 2-day breaks in between. So the best part of that is that we're going to see the best possible healthy players we're going to see for the NBA Finals. A 2-day break does a body good, especially after the grind of this season. So you're right. If it goes to, getting this to 2-2 for Milwaukee is huge. If they're able to get that to 2-2, it's a toss-up. It's a best of 3, and anybody can really take it. If Phoenix is able to squeeze this out, like I said before, they got 3 chances to win their franchise's first NBA title. So a lot on the line in this one, and it's going to be interesting to see how these teams respond, because we don't know how they've responded in the past. This is uncharted territory for both of these franchises right now.
Right. And if we look back into, if we talk about the big names, obviously we talk about Lakers or we talk about Nets, because initially everyone out there, they all had that entire map made in their mind that, these would be like the main teams who would come into the finals. And but I still remember Milwaukee Bucks managed to win, like in the play-ins, they managed to win like constantly 2-3 games against Nets. And that completely changed my thought process in terms of what exactly can they do in terms of performance.
Yeah, you're right. And the thing with Milwaukee is that the reason why I think that they may be able to pull this out, or the reason why I thought in the finals they would have a chance, is that they've had major flameouts the last couple of years in the playoffs. And that sort of helps you to overcome these things later on, or you would think. They looked a little dicey in the beginning. I really thought that after those first 2 games in the finals, they didn't look that great. But they've been able to build a little bit, and I think that what you've seen in these playoffs from them is that resolve that kind of comes from faltering along the playoff path. So, for Phoenix, they're here. They haven't made the playoffs in the 10 previous years, and now they're in the finals. So it really is a weird space for both of them, and it is. I would say at this point, we're gonna have to see what happens after Game 4 before we can make.
Looking forward to see that game. Thank you, Eric, for being a part of the show and discussing the world of NBA with us.
I appreciate it. And just a reminder, check us out on sportsbettingdime.com for all your NBA action and previews for these games.
Absolutely. Thank you once again. Pleasure. So that was pretty much in-depth analysis on the world of NBA, and I think we're looking forward for the Game 4. Anyways, we'll quickly jump over to the updates and news about golf. We talk about US Open. Yes, Matsuyama and Watson actually withdrew from the US Open. And one of the major reasons is, obviously, Matsuyama is out because of the COVID-19 testing being positive. Watson withdrew because of the close interaction after, Matsuyama managed to get COVID positive. So I think it's going to be an interesting thing for him because he still needs to recover now. Because if you remember, there have been history in the world of golf that, the golfers managed to get COVID and then they cured themselves up and managed to come back and make their win. So Matsuyama, not to forget, claimed the victory at the Masters in April, and the Open was cancelled in 2020 because of the coronavirus pandemic. But anyways, we wish him quick recovery, and not only him, we also wish Watson quick recovery. Anyways, a quick update with regards to the world of athletics. Sha'Carri set to return to Diamond League Prefonte Classics. Richardson has completed the 1-month ban. And Richardson will run a 100-meter and a 200-meter in the Diamond League. And they meet in August 21st. It would be like her first race, as initially she was suspended for it. So I think making a comeback would be interesting for her. The Richardson ban has been, it also reignited fierce debate over the use of cannabis in sport. So there has been a lot of debates because her ban actually ends on the 28th of July. But anyways, if she's participating, let's hope that she puts in her level best. Anyways, guys, this is pretty much it from the world of sports. Want to reach out to us, you can on our social media handle, which is @Indus News Sports. Till then, take good care of yourselves and bye-bye.